Hello, hi, how are you? Um, I don't really know how I should even go about starting this in the first place. Um, I've been making videos covering aspects of my depression and trying to build a long form, short form video talking about the events that occurred that built into my depression, yada 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 yada. And I probably have around 7 to 8 hours worth of footage and material, both in my car, in this room, before all of this was complete. A lot of psychological growth for myself has occurred in 2022, and I run into Jonah Hill's Stutz video on Netflix. Um, and running into a therapist making statements about like jotting down visual aids for tools to be able to assist in your own self growth. I'm gonna fidget. I just realized I'm gonna fidget. I'm gonna explain to you in a minute. I have to say trigger warning. In today's day and age in society, I have to say trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. Running into a therapist making statements about building your own psychological tools and self-development and being able to deal with your own feels, anxiety, and being able to deal with being trapped in the past, moving forward, being focused in the here and now, acknowledging me, like me and my self-growth towards acknowledging what existential lessons to be able to self-take, to be able to self-grow of myself as an individual, and to be able to pull myself out of my own depression, the miscommunication that happened in my life that resulted in a lot of people walking away from me in some aspects of life. Running into an aspect of validation, like Jonah Hill's therapist discussing what he was discussing, was a very large breath of fresh air and a realization that some of how I had been approaching things is wrong, and yet how I want to document and record and publish what I want to record is valid. That'll be over time. Alright, I have bored you with the first 2 minutes and 36 seconds. If you're still here, cool. If you're not, whatever. Trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. Hello, my name is Kyle. In probably around 2011, I came to the realization that I was very despondent and non-proactive in my life, and I was not setting forth any existential goals. I decided to make really large life changes, and within a 1 month period, the entirety of my peer group suddenly realized or declared and acknowledged. There were a lot of very strange conversations. I was the black sheep of my peer group. Nobody told me. Uh, Suddenly, I declared to people that I wanted to make really large changes as an individual, and a lot of people declared that they didn't like me. They just didn't want to deal with me anymore. And, like, they don't care who I am as an individual. I've just been annoying for years. And it was a sudden realization that a lot of people never critiqued me and tried to hold me accountable for anything of my own age. At the same time, it was a realization that a lot of people had become accustomed to who they thought I was. That me suddenly being more assertive, creating boundaries, and being more proactive was alien to them. And a lot of strange things occurred at once, and a large miscommunication between myself and a large portion of my family occurred. And so it's like 2023. It's the 17th of January. 2022 was an amazing year of closure and acknowledgments. Existence was really, really strange. In 2017 or 2018, I went to the Mental Health Specialist Diagnostics Center, the the Emergency Psychosciences Diagnostic, where EMS and first response send people if they need an actual prompt diagnosis. and not a, oh, we're going to wait for you to be able to find your own psychologist, this, that, and the other. All right, here's your trigger warning. 5 minutes in. Oh, hey, 5 minutes and 10 seconds. I guess that's counted. That's acceptable to me. I was diagnosed with passive suicidal dissociative depressive disorder. I'm messed up in the head. It was weird. It was nice having a name properly for a lot of things. Having a psychologist turn to me and go, hey, you're okay. Certain aspects of everything you're going through are valid. You are part of an individual ratio that is 1 in every 12 people have thoughts of psychological negativity. And you are capable of growth and self-development. I think the one thing that will always strike me the most is having a psychologist who is diagnosed and quickly diagnosing people turn to me and inform me, oh no, you can't actually be treated here. This is where we treat people where you have to talk to multiple voices in their heads. We have to argue with them and themselves and their others. We treat people who are way off the spectrum. You're fine. You're completely recoverable. Here's the 7 different possible prescription medications. Here's all of these other capabilities. Here's therapy, this, that, and the other resources. I was homeless at the time. I did and did not qualify for certain aspects of resources and accessibilities. So yeah, I wanted to make a video acknowledging my tools for my own mental health regrowth and restabilization was I personified my emotions. I have a pictorial imagery. What I don't know really. I have a vivid imagination that creates scribbles and drawings. They're very, very simple. I'm bad at drawing art. I'm really bad at drawing art. I cannot get proportions down correctly in any way, shape, or form. But my mind creates small scribbles, drawings. There's sometimes where it can get really, really vivid. Sometimes where it's not at all in any way, shape, or form. I created a personified character for calmness, anger, after years of self-writhing and sudden self-introspection, I came to the realization that I wanted to recreate an acknowledgement of who I was as a child, what I liked about my aspects of curiosity and enthusiasm towards the world around me, so I recreated an inner child. Dirgerus, that is the structure that I created first, that in lore and what I created in my head ended up becoming a spell. And then I ended up creating another version of that, which I really like certain aspects of Japanese idealism, where you can fill the cracks and crevices of something that is broken with gold. I'm a steampunk, so I went with brass. I also like rustic colors and aesthetics, so I went with that. And I created a re-imagery of aspects of who I was as a child in curiosity, a sprite in my enthusiasm and love of life and mortality. Within the last few months, I realized what the questions were and what I was asking for as an individual. Self-realizing that I was not proactive, I wanted to find an aspect of existence that I could trust and grow into. I found myself. I lost my childhood stuffed animal. I bought myself a bunch of plushies to apologize to myself. There's a bunch of videography and content creation equipment that's not on screen that I've also invested in. Got myself really nice toys and other things, and I focused on myself instead of freaking out about the goals, expectations other people set in front of me. And that took me sitting down and letting a lot of life wipe aside for a whole 3 days, and dishes and clutter and dirtiness and grossness gathered around me like no effing tomorrow. And I just sat and I wrote down what I wanted to become, where I wanted to go in some of my life goals, and what I wanted to be able to make myself happy in my free time. I fell into drug usage, and I learned about Rat Vegas. I'm only at 10 minutes. Yes, I'm on good time. I learned about Rat Vegas, and Rat Vegas was in creating personifications of parts of my emotions, I created a split psyche, and parts of them interrupt one another. And I'm learning this as I'm going on as an individual, and this is valid. It's a good way of self-rescue. When learning about aspects of addiction, I learned about the scientific study of quote-unquote Rat Vegas. You can put this into a Google search. Basically, it was the principle and idealism where if you put drugs, water, and 3 things to do in front of a living organism, that organism is going to do drugs to change their perception of the world around them in the name of giving themselves enlightenment, or perspectives of enlightenment. Perspectives of euphoria and engagement validation that is an illusion. There we go. And what occurs is if you turn around and build them a 3-story rat maze with flashing lights, 6 or 7 things to do on one level, and the next level is 45 different treats and snacks and things to enjoy, and you keep them well stocked on a lot of things to enjoy and engage in, they will never go towards the drugs or in the psychological modifiers. So I got myself things to create content. I got myself gaming consoles. I got myself things to be able to differently distract myself. And then I actually learned about escapism. Trying to escape one's own point of view to be able to balance one's psychological thoughts from getting away from negativity. That's something that's very important to study yourself as an individual. I can't at all relay all of that in one single video. Well, I can, but that's not a topic of this video. Self-growth and studying into self-acknowledgement is part of what you have to do to pull yourself out of your own psychological hole. So I have a page open. I'm going to go here through this a bit. I have a small overview video of the video with Dr. Stutz, Professor Stutz, scientist Phil Stutz, psychotherapist. Dude bro who did a lot of self-discovery. I like him. He has a good air about him. Visualization exercises. Yes. Although, I see, the issue with this also is not everyone actually has a visualization. Oh, that's me. Sorry. Not everyone has a visualization imagination. Imagination. Should have gotten a nice big glass of water for my room. I've been cleaning nonstop for the last day. Not everyone is capable of imagining images, and not everyone even has an internal narration dialogue. And sometimes it's important to acknowledge that that is a valid way to exist, and those people can develop depression and mental health issues as well. I do not have any way to advise you as an individual if you function like that. You need to go talk to a professional. As a matter of fact, if you've gotten 15 minutes into a mental health video talking about aspects of psychological malignancy. You should probably go see a mental health professional, because a psychologist will diagnose you if you have a mental health issue. A therapist will coach you in positive thinking. So everybody should go to therapy, even if not everyone will have a therapist recommend them to a psychologist. Go see a mental health specialist. Everyone should go see a... Everyone should see a mental health specialist. Okay, so anyhow, Stutz is a video on Netflix. You should watch it. Is an individual... Sorry, I shouldn't even refer to the rest of any of this video like that. You gotta give me a moment to read, buddy. I'm sorry. So, Stutz makes a point that we as existences have to have creative mental health tools that assist us in acknowledging and working through the uncertainty and direct needs of life that are pain, uncertainty, and constant work. And those are three aspects of reality that no one can avoid and they're really uncomfortable with. Well, that's very, very true. Pain and uncertainty is always there. But there is a difference between working for employment, working for enjoyment, working for compassion, and working for relaxation. Because keeping your mind clear for meditation, relaxation, and self-therapy is work. It's fucking hard. With the new algorithms on YouTube, I hope cussing 17 minutes in doesn't get me demonetized on my whole channel. But it's fucking hard to keep a clear mind and work on some aspects of mental health acknowledgement and self-growth. With doing that, it is important at times. I've made a joke to somebody that I now live a Lizzie McGuire type lifestyle because I have a couple different animated characters in my head. You don't need to have animated characters in your head, but you do need to develop self-acknowledgement tools on what it is that you're doing in the moment and what type of work that you're doing. Because constantly feeling like you are at a task without respecting who or what or why you are doing the task for will be very laborious on your psyche. This is an amazing point and very direct to the point. The process does start there. Stutz has a life force model. I'm currently doing, this is on Netflix.com, so I guess I'm reading a Netflix article summarizing their 1 hour and 45 minute movie on the channel. You should go watch it. Pirate it if you have to. I'm not condoning piracy, although I do like the idea of an eye patch and yarging along with everyone around me. Netflix is totally worth a single month. Enjoy some Netflix. Stutz says that it's very fundamental that everyone knows what makes people feel more alive. In a life force model, they need to... Oh, that's really great. There's 3 levels of what make you as an individual. Your primal relationship with your physical body, your relationship with other individuals, and your relationship and acknowledgement of yourself. And I would say that your relationship acknowledgement with yourself is much more important than everything else, because your respect for yourself is what will dictate your relationship with other people and your primal relationship with your own physical body, because you got to take care of your own vessel. Take it from a dude who's had 2 cardiac heart surgeries, and I put a lot of effort into being soft because the world's kind of hard and the world's very strict, and that's all I'll get into in this video on that part of it. I like that a lot. Figuring out how to move forward becomes easier once you know yourself more. However, it's very, very difficult to move forward in general with a mental health stigma, So remember, a really large measurement that a lot of people say is that you don't have to be better than the world around you. You just have to be better than yourself than you were yesterday. I think that's ridiculous. You need to be better than yourself than you were like 6 months ago. You can take today off. Don't take every day off, but you can take a few days off. You should be better than you were as a person 6 months ago, and that measurement of self growth is up to you as an individual. The aspects of reality that you need to embrace are very complicated and difficult, and they're very, very beautiful. I like that. Part X is the difficulty of what keeps you from changing. I personified certain aspects of my own psychological malignancy, and I created in my own mind an anxiety monster. My anxiety monster is able to be changed in size and shape when I'm able to take a moment to focus on winding down my anxiety, when external forces and other entities, individuals, and stress factors that cause that anxiety are dealt with. Sometimes I can't deal with them directly, and I have to remind myself the bills aren't actually due for a few more days. Take a deep breath, wind down for a moment, and go back to what you have to do for self-growth and for getting your responsibilities done. And sometimes you need to just not do the dishes for the night. Yeah, it's okay. The review that I'm on is a video on. Cool, I'm at just 20 minutes in. Alright, the review page that I'm on is a string of pearls. I did not get this. I watched the video, I paused, I rewinded, I played again. I didn't get the string of pearls analogy. The idea that every action in your life, regardless of significance, is just another action is too much of going, oh, the world is just black and white, in my perspective as an individual. It is really, really important as an individual to focus on the really big core responsibilities in life first and foremost. Then you focus on the smaller needs and comforts and enjoyments. And then at the end, you fill the rest of the space with all the small knickknacks, the personal friendships, non-personal friendships, the small business acquaintances, the person you really love to run into at the coffee shop and the specific time of day that you both have the same schedule. Stutz makes a statement that each action in life is a chain of pearl. You get something done and you move forward. You get something done and you move forward. And you have to respect that each action that you're going to do is like a pearl. It's going to be flawed. The only non-flawed pearl is lab grown. And I don't like pearl farms. I mean, I like pearl farms. I don't like pearls from pearl farms because you get a necklace that's all uniform and completely the same, and everything is just perfect and chemically bleached, and you have the perfect 9 out of 10 jeweler's expectation pearl shine. A natural pearl grown in the ocean, many different shape variations, depth, texture, shading variations. Your pearl is always going to be different in every action that you do. Not everything is just a thing that you do, but everything is a thing to get achieved, and sometimes you can get it directly done, or it's going to take you some time, and you need to respect that. Sometimes you need to realize that something is a bigger task than everything else, and the bigger thing is overwhelming your point of view. Pick it up, stick it on a shelf. Realize that it doesn't actually have to be completed for another, 2 weeks. Get everything else done. Get all the other smaller pearls handled. Get that string of pearls gotten done. I like the analogy of getting your tasks done, putting them on the string, and moving forward in life. That's wonderful. The idea of each pearl having a turd within it is a very strange analogy to me. But I understand why it works for some people. It's very important to respect that life is complicated and you have to always be moving forward in a progressive manner. even though that progress is going to be very flawed. You need to respect that you're a growing human being. I think I only have like 4 more things to respond to on this analogy, and then I'm going to tell you about my inner child and me personifying my emotions more directly. I like the whole analogy of the shadow being a part of yourself that you're ashamed of and that you don't wish you didn't exist. Certain aspects of your past, you did. Me as an individual, I don't have an issue with who I was in the past or me being ashamed of aspects that didn't exist or did exist. I, as an individual, realized that I wasn't proactive in the past, and there's just some aspects of existence that I also didn't associate with properly because I was disassociated from my peers. I, as an individual, have an anxiety monster. I love my anxiety monster. It's a fuzzy little thing with a bunch of tentacles. I ended up finding a stuffed animal kind of like it 2 years after I visually created it in my mind. I almost screamed when I ran into it, and I'm like, this is beautiful, this is so cute. And my friend's just like, wow, that was a lot of excitement. You can have that if you would like that. And it's supposed to be up on this shelf right over here. And as I was preparing a little bit in my head as to what I wanted to talk about and how I wanted to do this, and I completely derailed, I'm 26 minutes in, so I derailed on how I was trying to do this probably, 22 minutes ago, but oh well. I have ADHD. We as individuals have to find what it is that we want to grow towards and what it is that we want to grow away from. And if you can create a visualization of what it is that you want to... The statement that my grandfather made is sometimes you have to wash things off like a duck. Sometimes you have to let water go over you and you have to let things move on and you move forward and just let things fall off. It sucks as an analogy for some of the things that you love and adore, but sometimes that is true. We as psyches, as mental entities, we have to develop good ways for ourselves to imagine what it is that we're trying to grow out of and ourselves moving forward. One visual that I used I really like was reaching up out of a black pit and dragging myself up and out of my own darkness. Turns out, years later, in my own growth of psychology and therapy learning, I got some layers of sludge and darkness that I've been kind of growing myself out of. And I'm proud of my self-growth as an existence. But the realization and the things that I acknowledged that put me into this pit also was a part of my self-growth. And I am proud of that too. Eventually you will be proud of your own depression, and that is not validation to stay in your own depression. Yeah. So fight your shadow. Your shadow is complicated. Your psychological malignancy is something that you should be proud on your day-to-day fight against. Alright, it's 9:14 p.m. I got a pretty good timetable going on here. Part X is your doubts and your deepest fears. A shadow in Part X. What was Part X? Where did Part X go to? Alright. Oh, yes. Those structural existences that are just there. Where did we go? What was it? Like I said, I'm responding to an article in this section of my video currently. There's this thing acknowledging the snapshot and the realm of illusion along with the maze. Both are aspects of reality as well as the byproducts of our perspective. I really I would refer to it as the realm of social media, the illusion of social media, and the realm of our mortal expectations. We, as living things, as we grow, we become accustomed to both what is presented around us by our stability of life created by our parents and by our peers and the society around us. And we as humans get really, really stuck in our expectations of how we are supposed to be progressing in today's society versus how we see ourselves in our own mind as well as in our own vessel and our day-to-day lives, not actually able to perceive parts of our own self-growth while having people that we trust putting in their 2 cents when sometimes we didn't ask for their 2 cents. And that also changes our measurements of how we perceive where we should and should not be in life. And some of us get trapped in the past, not moving forward. I did for a good 6 months. It's important to be able to tackle some aspects of anxiety and stress and getting yourself back to in the moment with grounding and psychological acknowledgement of being in the here and the now. And some of the things causing your anxiety and stress are in the future, that you don't need to get to these goals just yet. You do have to get to them eventually, but they're not due yet. And then there's other factors of the past that you may be ashamed of and irritated that they affect you today because those are things that you did foolishly or directly or intelligently that people may or may not have seen correctly. And so reflecting on those events, wishing that they could have gone differently, can also slow you down on your own personal progress as a living thing. It is important to try to stay out of the maze of your own psychological malignancy and your own psychological frustration. And I massively agree with therapist Stutz' aspects of reality portrayal and how he explains that we as people have to respect that it is unavoidable for us to deal with the stresses and lives and irritations of the worlds around us, and we are in control of our own perspective of our aspects of reality as long as we remind ourselves to be proactive in doing so. And that is extremely important in pulling yourself out of your own mental health rut. Alright, so the last of this review is talking about the structural tools, and I'm gonna... So, the context is that to move forward in our process of psychological self-growth is we're getting to Dirgerus. We as entities have to create our own mental health tools and psychological self-growth aspects to be able to be self-proactive. We need to create visualizations. We need to be proactive in our brain to be able to create tools to be able to come up in these moments to pull us out of our anxiety issues, our fear, our frustrations. We have to be proactive in our active love of ourselves and acknowledging the love that other people give to us. I was an absolute dumbass on aspects of intimacy until I studied the love languages and the vocabulary aspects of the Greek people, acknowledging and introducing one another to the multiple levels of love, from both love of a neighbor to love of a friend to love of a brother to love of a lover, and to a platonic love of a soulmate. Cool. Wonderful. Once you learn these things, you can help visualize yourself becoming one with the person that you want to be as an individual. And it can also help you personify and visualize yourself forgiving others and forgiving yourself. I have a lot of plushies to help me forgive myself for losing my childhood stuffed animal because of aspects of existential miscommunications. This little one here, that is purchased because it was accidentally thrown away by some of my family members. And that was an heirloom of my grandfather. And I just so happened to find it on an eBay Google search. And the person who sent me that one sent me a lovely little bulldog right here. And there's little heart prints on his paws. And they're absolutely wonderful. I ran into VTubers and softer content creators. And I created this massive background with plushies and other things in the name of soft portrayal. And I absolutely love and adore my stuffy collection because I am capable of loving myself. And it took me getting things visually around myself to remind myself of that, to do it proactively. So if you need to get yourself nice things to remind yourself that you love yourself, do it. It's okay to do so. Radical acceptance. Radical acceptance, bro. You gotta be radical about your acceptance of yourself and your own self-growth and your journey. Judgment of yourself, others, what could potentially happen in the future. Some cool stuff, dude. Oh, yeah, right. It's about accepting all parts of yourself and acknowledging them to exist. And acknowledge the fact that bullshit happened in your past. You need to have faith in your prior self and some of the decisions you made in the past instead of having anxiety and issues over them. I was a fucking dumbass in the past. Yeah, I'll totally admit it, dude. Continuing on. We have to be grateful because the world around us is maddening crazy and is filled with gratitude as well as confusion. So find the gratitude. Try to keep out all the confusion. Alright. And that is the end of the Stutz documentary review created by Jonah Hills and me reacting to the review of the video that I absolutely loved, fell in love with because I created an inner child, acknowledging the fact that I completely damaged myself. Where are we at? 37 minutes. 40 minutes in. Alright, I have just a little while longer for recording. This is obviously Mark 1 of some others because I would love to actually do some animation, drawing, and visualizations of this character that I'm going to be now explaining. I'm wearing an Inuyasha t-shirt for this because my inner child is an incarnate and inspiration piece of Shippo, which is a character from Inuyasha and some 90s kids may or may not recognize. Where am I going with you? This is supposed to go up. Thank you. I as an individual had some structural miscommunications with the world around me. And I freaked out and sat down and non-proactively tried to communicate, and I foolishly did not actually go to get a therapist as a mediator. I should have gotten a mediator. Looking back in the past, I made some mistakes, and, it's okay. After 2 to 3 years of just writhing in place, running to every little thing that I could possibly grab onto as a goal, and accidentally burning so many bridges, I stopped and looked at myself and came to the realization that because so many people that I had had faith and trust in kind of overreacted to me realizing that I didn't like myself and decided that I was blaming the world around me, blaming my neighbor, blaming my friend, blaming everyone except for myself, which I wasn't. I was blaming myself. The entirety of the world around me echoed to me that I was a bad person, and I started demolishing myself incorrectly and errantly. And so I sat down and I rebuilt myself a little character in my head. And I really loved aspects of curiosity and bubbly enjoyment of aspects of mortality. So I created myself a little fox character. Fuzzy little floppy ears, kind of a half dog humanoid hybrid. Probably comes up to here. And I created this airheaded little thing that was a sprite of curiosity, enthusiasm, enjoyment of nature and life, happiness, joy, and curiosity. And then I created anger. I personified anger and tried to study what I was angry about, why I was angry, and I personified calmness. Rathrun was anger. Cerulean was calmness. I studied more aspects of chivalry, self-growth. I kind of created what I, as a steampunk, wanted to be my steampunk persona. What else did I suddenly... After I did those things, kind of imaged and mirrored myself, I kind of realized I wanted to create more of an internal imagery of who I was before all of this had occurred. And so I went back to who I was in elementary school, junior high, and I wrote down lists of hobbies and enjoyments and things that I really just was bubbly as shit. I got myself a Nintendo Switch because I realized I really loved having a Game Boy. I found my Game Boy Color, dragged things out of storage, pulled my Pokemon collection out of things, put it up on a shelf, put it places where I could see it regularly. I went back to aspects of who I was in my youth and rebuilt parts of myself, and then I ended up creating an actual inner child that I called Dirgerus. Cerberus, the three-headed dog of hell, is supposed to be the gatekeeper of death. I, as an existence, became psychologically malignant. Shit. I trolled myself. I got water. I got a little bit of a candy and snack. Chowed down and... Oh! I'm so sorry. I bumped my mic. There is a... to turn on and off the functionality of a very nice microphone. But it seems I bumped it with my cheek while making a statement about my own mental malignancy while acknowledging Dirgerus, so I have a feeling I just got trolled by an aspect of myself. I created a sprite. Gummy candies make you really salivate. I created a psychological sprite to be able to combat my own psychological darkness, and it ended up being a cute little ballsy little bastard with fuzzy ears and a lot of Gaian energy and life word and mana and green, green, green. Wherever I am out in the world, I can always stop for a moment and look at green and remind myself that I am a living thing and I am pretty, I add to diversity, and I am a lovely mortal. There we go. I am also annoying as fuck from time to time, but at least I am enjoyable as a human being. We all add to diversity as mortal existences. So anyhow, I don't remember exactly what it was that truly inspired me to start going to therapy on a regular basis. And part of my train of thought completely derailed because I bumped off my microphone and had to start all of this. And I have ADHD, so I wasn't really going all that well on my train of thought. So yeah, I created a sprite of what who I could remind myself of my hobbies and my enjoyments in my youth. And while I was doing that, I suddenly came to the realization of my own validity as a grown person. And that, as a child, I didn't have a whole lot of goals. And some of those goals got destroyed by, like, growth. Like, I wanted to be an Air Force pilot when I was younger. And I can't because of medical conditions. And then I grew too big for the cockpit. And then I ended up being disqualified because of a heart condition. And so, life just kind of goes forward as it does. But, younger me would have been kind of impressed with all the things I've done, small projects that I've achieved. I ended up being homeless and learning some large parts of perspective, but I also ended up living on a school bus with a series of people and learning about, social craziness and how people will go along with things for their own benefit until they're not comfortable, and then suddenly they'll freak out in ways that you get to learn a lot of people's undealt with self frustrations that they take out on others or just are non active. Um, I, as an individual, grew a lot and in some really weird and crazy ways. And looking back, I realized, why not create in your head an idealism of the fantasy version of yourself that you wanted to be as a child? Why not create in your head an idealism of the principle of who you may be able to become someday in the future as well? Why not in your head create a principle of encouragement, acknowledgement, and maturity that you may or may not ever achieve, and that can remind you of things, and also create a version of yourself that you can find amusing that you can never become. So I did. I created a whole myriad of characters in my head. And they're very strange, and they're very pretty, and they're very amusing to me. But in the end, I created a little version of myself from when I was younger that I used to be able to hug in my own head. Because certain aspects of affection are hard. And you are worth your own love. Finding your own way to love yourself is a very complicated thing. It's it's hard to find your own validity after you have lost your way. That's the way to say it. I, as an individual, created a little sprite based off of a character from Inuyasha. I created a little bubbly, blow-hearted, suspender-wearing, actually, I'm not really sure if he's in pants with suspenders or if he's in overalls. I've still got to figure that one out. I don't know. I kind of like the whole idea of a dress-up shirt. Then again, there's multiple spells, so I'll figure it out, the actual character dynamics and design later. But I created parts of my own self-acknowledgement in a visual, animated form in my head. And I created visual tools without realizing that was actually something that therapists and aspects of psychology encourage. And then, a year or two later, I ran into VTubers, digital content creators, and I have a whole shelf of VTubers over here. And this little one here is Lumi. LumiTuber's pretty cool. The actual actress behind the microphone is a very gentle soul. This one's cool too. So the actual woo in my head is like an extra 6 inches, extra foot down here. This is so non-proportional. I just realized, actually seeing her on film while holding her, the proportions are completely askewed from the side, but at least it's cute from the front. Now see, the reason I own this, weirdly enough, is not just because this is a cute character, but because trying to hug myself in this manner hurts my back. So instead I have a fluffy little thing that takes up a nice void space, and is about the same size of something in my head. Someday, I will actually commission a proper sized plush. Someday I may commission a mass-made plush, but I don't have a goal of actually wanting to do that. I created the thing in my head to be able to combat my own anxiety monster as well as the malignancy of me questioning my own validity as an existence. Alright, if you have gotten here, here's another 8 minutes and 27 of footage, along with an associated... I don't know if I'm going to trim this other piece of footage down, although I did spend 3 minutes of myself talking with my mic turned off, so I will be editing that. How... Right, well the video data is not going to pop up while I'm recording data, I guess. So I believe I'm about 55 minutes in. If you've gotten here in this video, you were here for a reason, or maybe not, maybe you're just viewing. You do have my permission to watch this video with your community and discuss aspects of this video as long as you show it properly. Don't just casually comment on it. And, having small snippet review videos reacting to an individual or making fun of an individual admitting that they created an inner child to be able to combat aspects of their own. Trigger warning again. I really did pay attention to stay away from certain aspects of vocabulary structure. I'm going to raise that veil now. Aspects of suicidality are very, very complicated. You are valid as a living thing if you have thoughts of death. Going to a psychologist trained in speed diagnostics was daunting, was amazing. Some questions that I got to ask got some very disturbing answers, and I'm very proud of knowing them. I'm going to pass some of them on to you. First and foremost, psychology has not actually found a mature human being anywhere on this planet currently. Everyone before the age of 28 deals with a psychologically or perspective challenging event or something that shatters one of their large core structural worldview viewpoints, and they go through a point of no return. Everyone around you is dealing with some kind of a fear or frustration of their own. I'm hitting 10 p.m. on the time period of where I am living on my recording, so I need to stop recording soon as well. If you have thoughts of death, you are in a part of a 1 in 12 statistic. You are a valid human being in the eye of psychology, and your struggle is something that you're not alone in any way, shape, or form. You're probably a very beautiful human. Myself, while battling my own psychological stigma, have very much so found confidence and joy in the fact that I, as a human being, am the only person who have walked in my shoes. I'm the only one who's been homeless at a certain time period in Vegas, talking with war veterans, acknowledging certain aspects of the past and worldviews, and having my perspective changed. I am the only one who've gone through certain aspects of living in a school bus while traveling in a weird kind of manner. May or may not repeat that someday. I'm the only one who's gone through certain aspects of being the type of a nerd that I am. I am a very pretty human being. I'm also a human being who's known some Green Beret SEAL team, Green Beret team leaders, and a couple retired Navy SEALs. I'm also an individual who can harm you in really, really weird ways. I'm unique. I'm beautiful as a person, and I'm fucking annoying. Um, I'm valid. I know I'm valid. If I'm fucking valid, you're valid. I'm weird as hell. Alright? Fact. Fact of the matter. Um, you got to work on a little bit of self-confidence, even if that means falling in love with your species and not yourself. Humans are pretty cute. Human curiosity is pretty neat. Go hang out in a park. Go chill at a dog park. Relax. Remember to de-stress. At least spend one day each month putting effort into doing nothing all day. You're gonna fail, but at least you'll have 6 or 7 hours of properly relaxing somewhere that you don't have any responsibilities. I say go to the park. I am on the coast. I go to the beach. Sometimes I go go-karting at the local arcade. I'm going to do that sometime in the next 2 weeks for just because I haven't in 6 months. Go-karting. Yay. 13 minutes. Hour and 5 minutes. What's some of the other big core things I want to share? I've gotten a good deal of them. Do that, okay, that, yes. Mental health medication is a stigma in itself. It is important to take psychological drugs that assist in chemical balancing. However, those chemical balancing and those psychological drugs will not change the life events that change certain thought processes in one's mind. Sometimes people need to deal and have discussions with other people, and that's why mediation and therapy between multiple people is important to go to, and if someone else asks you to go to therapy with them, it's important to say yes. It's really hard to convey that, and if you are an individual in a situation where you have the other person you need to talk to being a wall, work on tools for self-discoverance and self-acknowledgement. I'm tired. It's been a long day. This has been a wonderful recording session. I got really far. I would like to someday do an animated special. I would like to eventually someday get into VTubing and digital content creation in an animated form and structure to be able to give an outlet to my internal character. There's 9 of them. Maybe I'll start a strange animated series on Disney. No. Nickelodeon. Maybe Fox. Cartoon Network. Maybe just here on YouTube. I don't know. Kind of cool. Kind of boring. There's nothing to do in my head. It's really quite boring and bland. There's nothing here. That's the one thing that is really funny to me. I did this wonderful job on creating characters and structures in my head, but I didn't actually rebuild anything that I accidentally destroyed. I don't know how to build those tools. I haven't ran into them. So, I am still on my own mental health journey. It took me 8 years to realize that I was proud of myself for still living after developing my own cognitive malignancy because of human miscommunication. God, that's hard to just verbalize. It took me 8 years to be proud of not killing myself because people stopped talking to me properly. Fuck. I've really grown to love myself. This journey was really, really hard, and I hope you are going through whatever you are going through and you realize that you are capable. The real big eye-opener for me was strawberries, and having my friend's dad trust me with part of his strawberry vending business at farmers markets. And I got to see diversity in so many people selling strawberries in the Bay Area of California. I don't remember the names. It's been a couple years. And then working for my other friend's dad and him taking me aside, or well, more specifically, hanging out in their living room, dining with them, hanging out and relaxing, and a statement of, I'm uneducated, and I am capable. The world around me was built by other humans, and I am completely capable in educating myself on taking care of, managing, or doing whatever I want in the world. I just don't know the specifics of how to do what I want to do in certain aspects of things. I can use all the tools. He has complete faith and functionality of knowing that if I had something in my hands and someone showed me how to use it, I can do so. I just am not educated on how to put together a 3-story house, take apart a 3-story house. Don't know how to fix a microwave. Probably blow myself up if I tried to fix a microwave. A pretty good deal of people would probably blow themselves up if they tried to fix a microwave. A microwave is a weird piece of machinery. Just buy a new one. I understand you trying to fix your like dryer or your clothes washing machine. Wathing. See, that's how tired I am. I've been up since like 6 a.m. A wathing machine. I blow myself up while I was working on my microwave. I need to go to bed and turn this off. Existence is complicated, and this is not the only Dirgerus Aetherica video. Although Dirgeri is the inner child. Yeah, but I like the idea of... Yeah, I think I'm going to name it Dirgeri Aetherica, not Dirgerus Aetherica, because Dirgeri is the actual construct of what I was as a child, while Dirgerus is what has evolved into being a spell in the lore and representation of the storytelling that I'd like to do, which was going to be a tabletop dice engine. But now there's an open gaming license dispute with Dungeons & Dragons, and I was going to be using an open structure D20 engine system leaning back on 3.5e. But that's off the table. I can't do that anymore. So as much as I really want to do D20 stuff with my audience as a stuff to tell stories, I don't know what I'm going to do. That's not a big deal. It's not pertain to this film. This video's over. Oh. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love myself. And if I love myself for being a quirky, stupid, and weird human, I love you for being whoever you are watching this. Thank you for giving me your ear. Thanks for putting up with me and my weird declarations. Yeah, so if you are a different content creator, this, that, and the other, you have my permission to watch this with your community. I don't really want people to make reaction videos or small snippet videos out of this or reacting to this. I'm going to be making plenty of attempts at content. But yeah, I'm going to make a few Dirgerus Aetherica videos. And it will be my mental health acknowledgements of my inner child. And Dirgerus is going to be my VTubing character. Frasumidix is my acknowledgement of my fantasy idealism. I don't know, someday I'll grow up into a more dude bro-ish version of myself, maybe. Probably not. I like how soft and feminine I am as a human. I can beat the crap out of anybody that I need to with a crowbar if I need to. This is my wonderful soft collection. And these are my last entry pieces. I am Kyle. And I permanently have malignant thoughts and aspects of my existence and my mortality. Funk again. And I am valid. And you are beautiful as a human being. And I hope you understand your daily struggles are something that you are capable of overcoming. Just as we are both capable of educating ourselves with the tools and resources to both conquer the world around us and conquer ourselves psychologically. It took me 8 fucking years to fully come to terms with a good series of things. Steadfast, lovely human, you will survive. And hopefully I'll have some animations and cool videos next time I make a video addressing my psychological growth. Because plushies are cool. But maybe, I took 2 animation classes in college. Maybe doing some of that education, putting that education to use would be a good idea. I love you. Have a good afternoon, good morning, good day, and good night.